Howdy, folks. The question was posed to me today, can you help me navigate the sync industry? And I thought, yes, I think I can, but that's also a really good idea for a video. So I'm going to take that comment and turn it into some content. I've been pretty busy lately and I need some content, and that's a really good idea. So thanks, Kais, I believe it's Kais, for the question and the email, and hopefully this will help you and many others that are watching. So if I could go back in time, or if I could just tell myself after 8 years or so of doing this, if I should do this or not in 2024, that's kind of the goal of the video. So I'm going to talk about some terminology, what to expect. I think entering the business, it really depends on a lot of things. And so we're going to get into that. I'm just going to do straight talk. I'm not trying to sell anything. I just want to help folks decide if this is something they want to pursue or not, based on my opinion and my personal experience. There's no gimmicks. There's no pay this and make this. There's no, if you see anyone out there saying, pay me and I will make you successful, take it with a grain of salt, because how successful you are depends not only on if you pay, who you pay, what you learn, what kind of student you are, etc. Everyone wants your money. We're all trying to make a buck, especially these days. But I'm just going to give you the straight facts. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think, what I missed, what I got wrong, what you agree with, etc. So let us dive in. So first, let's take a look at the agenda. Should you get into sync in 2024? That answer really is, it depends. And what should you be doing? I want to help set expectations, help you understand the landscape, suggest that you develop your own voice and build relationships, focus on creating good, high-quality, placeable tracks. Got to be prolific, you got to be consistent, got to stay current, you got to invest in your business. What you should not be doing is chasing trends, chasing clicks, neglecting the business side of this, overcommitting yourself, or ignoring feedback. These are all things that I want to dive in some greater details. Let's do that. To sync or not to sync, that is the question. Why do you want to enter sync is the first question you should ask yourself. And there are no wrong answers. You think it's fun. You think, hey, I got some time, I got some music. I enjoy writing music. I think it'd be cool to hear myself on TV. That's totally fine. It's not why I entered the business. I entered the business because I wanted to find another income stream. And it's a lot more challenging than I thought. It took a whole lot longer than I thought. Don't let anybody tell you differently. This is a brutal industry. It takes time. But are you doing it for the fun? Are you doing it for the income? Are you doing it just for the vanity? And there's nothing wrong with that in sync. If you want to hear your music on TV, it's a really cool rush. It's cool to tell friends and family, hey, that song on that show, I did that. That's pretty cool. Trying to get famous? Well, you're not going to get famous in sync. You'd be better off trying to pursue being a music artist, because sync is not going to make you famous. But ask yourself why. What is the why behind your desire to get into sync? And then what should you expect? It all depends. Again, I'm an engineer by day, and the answer to many questions is usually it depends. What are the variables? What's the timeline, etc. So where are you as a composer? What are your musical skills? What tools do you have? So where are you as a composer? Have you written music before? What kind of music have you written? Have you recorded yourself properly, whether it be in a studio or yourself using a DAW? So do you know how to create music? Can you create it quickly? Does it take you forever to write a song and you're emotionally attached to it and don't want to let it go? Do you have the skills you need to properly record yourself? Do you have the equipment, the tools you need? Do you have a good microphone? Do you have a good digital audio workstation, a DAW? Do you have a good audio interface, a good computer, a modern computer? Are you struggling financially and want to get by using old tools? If you're in that category, just stop. Thank you, good night, thanks for visiting, don't pursue this. You've got to be current with your technology. It's incredibly important. If you think you can get by with old stuff, you'll learn the hard way that you cannot. Okay, unless you're super, super rare and super, super gifted at making old things sound good. Most likely you're not, so just don't do it. Invest in this business, invest in yourself, get good equipment. Treat it like a business. So if you're not doing it just for fun, if you're doing it for income, to establish a second career, you want to do it full time, you've got to treat it like a business. That means being serious. That means being professional. Writing properly developed, accurate, grammatically professional, concise, know how to communicate at the business level on the phone, via email, via social media. This is a business. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Very, very common saying. I guess I'll date myself for a second, because a lot of folks don't know where that came from. It was a Head & Shoulders commercial for dandruff shampoo. You have to do that here. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Anyway, it's true though. The axiom holds true today. So if you make a fool of yourself at a convention, at an event, via email, in person, on the phone, you're not going to get called back. There are thousands and thousands of composers out there trying to get music libraries today. And if you blow it, you blew it. So treat it like a business. Be professional. Use ChatGPT to help yourself write proper sentences and emails. There's nothing wrong with AI. I'll say that again later on, but there's nothing wrong with using tools to make yourself the best possible image and putting your best foot forward. And most importantly, you've got to be patient in this industry. It takes time. There are no quick fixes. There's always the exception. Hey, I signed up with Taxi and I got a placement in a month and I got a check in 3 months. Yeah, and I won the lottery. That's not how it works. That's the exception, not the rule. There's always exceptions. And again, these are my opinions based on my experience. You've got to be patient. So, when will you start making money? Well, we'll talk about that a little later too. We'll talk about the first 6 months, what's going to happen, what goes on in your first 2 years, what goes on beyond those 2 years. But for starters, let's understand the landscape. The sync is competitive. The sync industry, and I'm talking about synchronization, music for TV and film and games and ads, etc. The business is competitive more than ever. Dare I say, it's saturated. People get all triggered when I mention that. If you talk to people in the beat making market, you know, folks will talk about, oh, the market's not saturated, just get out there and do it. I'm sorry, bull, but it's saturated. There are millions of beats. There are probably millions of beat makers. People that say that the market is not saturated are already successful. They've been doing it for a long time. They got in when the market was totally different. 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Okay, it's different now. Yes, the market is saturated. Okay, the same thing applies to sync. Lots of composers out there, lots of music libraries as well. So it's a very competitive, populated landscape. Lots of composers and producers out there. So how do you improve your chances in this musical landscape? You have to study the industry. Treat it like a business. Treat it like a college degree. Treat it like a professional certification. Study, analyze. Analyze the business. Analyze music on TV. Do research on music libraries. Find out what they do, how they work. And then study your target. Say you like to write rock, metal, guitar-based music. Very, very popular genre. It's all over the place. It's on cooking shows. It's on, car shows. It's on, top 40. Primetime TV. It's all over the place. And so what you do is you find these TV shows that use that music, and you grab your pad and you take notes during the show, and you watch the whole dang show, and you write down how many times they used that music. You take notes as to when they used it, what was before it, what was after it, what was the scene, etc. Take notes, study your target, watch a show, watch multiple episodes of that, and see if you find things that are consistent, musically speaking. And then we'll talk about that a little later as well. But know your target, study, treat it like a business. So I guess if you're watching this video and you're interested, if you should pursue sync or not, you're probably new to the business. So I want to kind of level the playing field a little bit and help define some terms. So library music. A music library is a place where you put your music, and then music editors, music supervisors will go to libraries that they trust and peruse the catalog and grab things and put them in their shopping cart that they want to potentially put on a TV show. So these are pre-cleared tracks. That means you've got to make sure the paperwork is done. Getting into libraries, it's not as hard as some make it out to be. I've got a video of my channel about how I recommend folks getting in. I've probably got a few videos on that topic, and there's plenty of other videos on that topic as well. But libraries are really where I have found my most success. But this music is all pre-cleared, and contracts are signed, so you know what they expect, what kind of alt mixes they want, etc. So the library is generally my target audience, but your mileage may vary. You need to understand the difference between exclusive versus non-exclusive deals. An exclusive deal with a library means that when you give them music, you can't give that same music to any other libraries. It'll create a lot of problems if you do. You probably end up getting blackballed, and no one's going to take your music because you're going to create lots of headaches. Exclusive means Library ABC gets your music and only they can pitch it. Now they can pitch it to as many shows as they want to. They're not going to just pitch to one show. They're going to pitch that music to as many as they can. It's part of their catalog now, but it can only be in that catalog. Non-exclusive means that they'll take your music and they may retitle it, they may not, but you can also put it in other libraries. So I've seen videos of folks talking about, hey, take your music and find 10 non-exclusive catalogs because it's better to have 10 folks trying to place your music than one, right? I can see that. It hasn't worked out for me. I'm in over 30 libraries. I'm probably in, maybe 5 or 6 non-exclusives, and most of them are exclusives. And it just works out for me organizationally, not worrying about keeping track of who's got what and retitling and things like that. I like focusing with exclusive libraries, but non-exclusives mean that you can put your music in multiple libraries. Now, understanding upfront payment versus royalties, upfront is exactly that. You get some money upfront for your music. Now, you might be contacted by a library. They want to pay you $150 for the track, but it might be, a full buyout, and you never see any money again from that. It might be upfront fee, but you also get to keep your royalties. Royalties come every quarter through your PRO, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC if you're in Canada, and there's a bunch of others in Europe and Asia. But royalties are a regular, mailbox money every quarter, and that's kind of the dream for a lot of folks. Ultimate dream is to get a lot of tracks in a show that goes into syndication and gets repeated over and over again, like the Kardashians, like MASH, like the Cosby Show back in the day, like any shows that you see on TV all the time. So syndication will be awesome, and you get those royalties every quarter. Now, a sync placement is the placement of your music in a TV show. It's synchronized with video. You're not going to see the video in advance. I get asked that question a lot. I've got about 1,500 tracks out there in libraries today, and only once in my 8 or so years of doing this did I ever get to write, twice did I get to write to picture. One was for the first season of Temptation Island, when they sent me 6 minutes of video and had me write music to it, and ended up using almost all of that, and I've used it multiple times in multiple seasons. Another time was a pilot for a movie, actually a pilot for a TV show, when I got to look at the video and write some music based on this scene where they steal a car. But that's it. So of the thousands of placements I've had, twice did I write to picture. There's some folks do that all the time. It's very, very rare in my opinion. So sync placements are on TV. Ad placements, I have not cracked that code yet. I've not chased it really hard, and I thought about it the past year or so of switching and kind of making that my target. I think it's very competitive. The payouts are better, much bigger upfront fees. Ideally, you get a commercial of some kind for 13 weeks, and if that commercial renews, you get another payment at the beginning of the next 13-week period. That's where you get your 5-figure your checks up front, which is really cool. And again, I've not had any of those. Blanket placements, I've had several of those. Basically, a blanket agreement is when a network comes to a library and says, hey, I want to pay you a certain fee for access to everything in your library. Kind of like a buffet. You walk in the buffet and you just pay that one fee, and then you can eat whatever you want. Don't make a ton of money on blankets, but I made a little bit with that. And then custom compositions. This is a chance for folks to break in. If you're a composer, maybe you get a chance you find an independent film producer. You go to the local film college and let it be known on the board there that you will do scores or soundtracks for student projects. Maybe you charge a nominal fee. Maybe you charge nothing because you want to just get practice at writing a picture. And maybe that person ends up becoming successful and they remember that and you help them down the road. Totally your call. College students are generally broke, but you never know. Some have lots of mommy and daddy's money, and they'll pay you a good check. So it's definitely worth pursuing. If you want to write to picture, you want to score a project, find your local film schools. Just hop on your favorite search engine, you will find them. But that's a chance for you to do custom compositions. Do the same thing for video games as well. I don't have that up here, but video games are also another industry worth pursuing. Very, very competitive as well. So if it's so competitive, what do you do to stand out? Well, work on developing your own unique voice. That's very difficult for a lot of folks, especially depending on the genre you're pursuing. I write a lot of urban hip hop and trap beats. Probably, a third of my placements are trap, hip hop related type stuff on reality TV. maybe more than that now. It's hard to get unique, so I got to focus on quality. But if you've got a certain sound, I play saxophone as well, keyboards, I do a lot of instruments, as you can see behind me. One of my niches is being a jazz saxophone player, but I can play any style of music on the saxophone. So I've got a reputation as being a dependable, quick turnaround, high quality saxophone player. That's kind of my unique voice per se, or maybe a unique characteristic about myself. But maybe you're really, really good at writing dramedy or orchestral or neoclassical or Americana. Focus on what you're really, really good at. You know, my wife is a singer as well, was a music teacher, and we're approaching 40 years together. Next month will be 40 years. And we've always said, you are what you listen to when you grew up. You are what you grew up on. So I grew up in a house that was full of jazz, classical, and, top 40. My wife grew up in a house that was largely full of country music and top 40 on the radio. She grew up out in the sticks. Not a lot of radio channels out there. And she listened to certain genres. I listened to certain genres. And you get to college and you start realizing, I need to expand in other genres, but I don't understand this or that. So you naturally will lean towards a certain style, whether it's rock or Americana, country, classical, bluegrass, or whatever. So maybe that is your strength. Now, there's always exceptions. Maybe you grew up in Utah, but you're a blues singer. You don't think of those two places together, but it could be. But whatever your strengths are, that's your unique voice, and focus on that strength. One of the mistakes I made when I first started getting the sync, I joined Taxi.com, fantastic service. I'm a big promoter. The first 2 years, I wasted a ton of time because I tried responding to as many listings as I could. Oh, I can do EDM. I can do dubstep. I can do circus music. I can do music. And could I? Yes. Was it good enough? Not really. I thought I was close at times, but no, I should have focused on hip-hop and classic jazz. And when I started doing that, then the forwards came, then the placements came. I'm going to share a visual of my income later on to show kind of that progress when I started focusing, and you see the line go up. So music supervisors, this is an important point. If you've got your own style, that's great. But music supervisors are looking for a specific thing. They don't care how unique you are necessarily. They don't care how great of a singer you are or how great of a musician you are, technically speaking, whatever. They're looking for a mood. They're looking for something underneath dialogue or maybe into a scene or out of a scene that meets a certain mood in their head. Don't show them how cool this thing is. Give them what they're asking for. And many times, they don't know what they're asking for. They try to explain it to you. You send your stuff in and they like it, they don't. Maybe you get lucky enough for some feedback to say, hey, change this, or wasn't quite right. Hopefully you grow that relationship so you can solicit that feedback and tweak things and make changes. That's really a really good relationship. But being original still can help. If you can add your own flavor to tension or dramedy, or classic rock or orchestral, whatever. Being original works, but don't be too original. The only folks that can really be original are folks that are already famous and they decide to take a different direction. See the Beatles, see Miles Davis, etc. But try to develop your unique voice, or maybe not develop, maybe I should change that. Maybe identify, find your unique voice, and then develop it, grow it, focus on that. I mentioned relationships with libraries. I've got some great relationships with music library owners. But how do you build these relationships? Well, it first starts out with networking. This applies to the corporate world just like it does the music world. Network, find people, be professional, be mature, be a grown-up, don't be a jerk. But network, find ways to network. Do your research on the industry, research on the various organizations, do research on music libraries, and figure out who's out there. We have the internet, we have search engines. We can go and figure out, watch a TV show, and at the end, when the credits scroll on by, try to get your pause button ready and see what music libraries, music provided by. You'll see that somewhere in the credits usually, maybe after the flower delivery company and the key grip and the dolly grip. Eventually they show you where the music came from. Write those library names down. Those are folks that you want to research. You'll then find their websites. You'll find their placements. And you'll learn more about what they've got. You'll go to their catalogs and listen to what they have if the catalog's public. And you can listen to the quality of the music that's there. and then use that as a litmus test. Compare it to your own music honestly and say, hey, I found this catalog, I found their rock, listen to that mix, listen to mine. Yeah, I'm there. Or, no, I'm not there yet. That's part of your research. There's lots of industry groups out there you can join. I mentioned Taxi earlier. I joined Taxi in 2015. I lurked for a while in the forums at Taxi and realized those people are really nice. The members are nice, and I've been a member for a long time. I left, came back, still a member now, and there's a lot to be had there. Dave Kropp has a really great business over at 52Q. It's a really neat music community. Dave and his wife are very, very cool at communicating, and they've got really high quality content. They're both educators, and I think their stuff is great as well. So go check that out. I think they're good for beginners as well. They've got some great services. The Sinkhole, I got some friends that decided to launch a Discord server, and that sucker has taken off. Lots of composers there. And just do a search for Sinkhole on Discord, and get in and then introduce yourself and just ask your questions, meet folks, and it's really a neat community. There's a lot of other communities out there. Folks have YouTube channels, they have podcasts, there's folks on YouTube, I mentioned that already. There's lots of industry sources out there you can become part of. Most are free, so that's one way. Events, again, the whole concept here is building relationships, networking, find local groups. Maybe there's an open mic in your town. Why would you go to an open mic? You go to listen, but go to find and meet people. Maybe you're going to sing. Maybe for the first couple times you just go and watch and check out the musicians that sing and play, and you'll find folks that are doing covers, you'll find folks that are doing originals, and maybe you'll hear a couple of folks that play music in a similar style that you like to play. And you listen to them, and maybe you go chat with them afterwards, kind of get a feel for what they're doing. Hey, love your song, love your voice, great performance, great guitar playing. How long you been doing this? Make your friends, buy a drink, buy them a drink. And maybe you might find someone to collaborate with or work with. The Taxi Road Rally, that's coming up in November. Annual event, free for members. You got to get there, got to get your hotel, but it's a free event that's fantastic for folks new to the sync industry, new to TV music in general. I call it the high school of sync music, because such great content, such great community to help people understand the business, help people understand the quality of their music, how to make the music better, how to learn the industry. So it's very, very cool. So I would check out, the Taxi Road Rally. You got to be a member, but definitely worth checking out. Local groups. There could be a music studio in town. I know there's Level 77 Music in Austin, Texas. They have a meetup every month. There's probably other meetups in your town, in your city, whether it be from a recording studio or a composers group or a software group. Try to find, do searches, see if you can find any musically related groups that do meetups. Could be a guitar group, could be a classical music group, could be anything, but try to find groups to meet people and just be a student and be nice and approachable and ask them. And then, of course, social media. It's the yin and the yang, the good and the bad, the bane of our existence, the end of the world. But there is fantastic content on YouTube. There's fantastic content on Instagram. LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great place to go. LinkedIn, I've learned a lot of musicians don't understand LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really the Facebook for businesses. It's an online resume, online business platform. It's not a place you go talking about your dog or posting about politics. It's a place that you use to meet clients, prospects, spread the word, to market about your business. Just over a year ago, I actually started putting Yo Pauly Music on LinkedIn. I've got my own personal account. I've had it for years, but I have, I also promote my own business there. I've connected with a lot of composers, a lot of music supervisors as well. It's an interesting professional way. You've got to be ready. Remember that first impression thing. You've got to be ready. So have a website, have some content to display. Don't be premature when it comes to networking. Network to meet people, but when it's time to try to sell yourself, make sure you have a good story to tell and you have good content. How do you create good content? Well, quality music is the key. It is everything. If you don't have good music, you're wasting your time if you're trying to make money at this. Now, define what is good music. Everything's subjective. If your mom likes it, doesn't mean it's good. If your friends like it, doesn't really mean much either. You need to find industry peers and get honest feedback from them to say, is this good? First, try it yourself. Listen critically. Like I said, find some music library websites and find examples of their music. Go to SoundCloud, go to Disco. You will find plenty of examples of music that's being used today, and honestly compare yours to it. Listen to the EQ, put headphones on, listen to the instruments, the quality, the mix, the panning, the effects, the openness, the space, how many or how little notes the music has. So the quality means a ton. Invest in the proper tools. We'll get into that in a minute. You've got to learn how to mix. You got to learn how to master, or you got to find a music partner that can do that for you. Mixing, you can't submit a demo to someone and hope that, oh, they like it. Yeah, I want you. Can you take that track and finish it up for me now? No, ain't got time for that. When you approach a library, you got to have polished, ready to listen to music. They're not going to take the time to stop everything they're doing and say, oh yeah, this is cool, but I didn't like that, and bring the guitar up here and you messed up the lyrics and this is not tight. That's not how this business works. Your music has to be ready at the time you present it to them. Learn how to create stems. If you are fortunate enough to get music into a library, most likely they're going to want to have alt mixes. They might even want stems. An alt mix is just, hey, give me that song you've got. Okay, give me an alternative mix with no vocal. Give me the mix with just bass and drums only. Give me a light mix, an underscore mix that's just not the melody, but maybe take a couple elements out. Okay, now give me a 30-second version, give me a 60-second version, etc. Those are alternative mixes. And stems are the individual instruments, just bass, just drums, just voice, etc. Like I said earlier, you are what you listened to when you grew up, for the most part. It's a broad generalization, but I've seen it to be true over the past several decades of my life. So, focus on your strongest genre. Try to find success there first because it comes easier to you. It's natural to you. You know what it's supposed to sound like. You can expand into new genres later once you've got some success and once you've immersed yourself in it and you practice and you learn how to create it. But focus on your strongest genre. And this is really important. Invest in your studio. If you want to do this, you've got to spend some money. And look, Apple Logic Pro is $200. That's it. It's amazing what we think about software-wise today. The things we get for free on our phone or for $1. People bitch about a $5 app. Come on, man. Applications used to cost hundreds or thousands of dollars not long ago. Now there's amazing stuff out there for free. There are free DAWs. There are free samples. There are free everything out there. You can do this, but if you can't afford to build yourself a basic studio, just stop. Just figure out how to do that first. And then you can pursue this. A little harsh. Sorry, I give zero craps about it. This is a brutal industry. You've got to invest in yourself and believe in yourself to do this, okay? So now, the reality check is here. This is a picture here. I chose this picture on purpose. Actually, I had AI create this picture on purpose. And AI got it wrong. I asked for a large field, a winery with only one vine in it, and it didn't get it right. But this winery, this vineyard, has a whole bunch of grapevines. Each one of those little sticks there is a grapevine. I've used this analogy for years. To be successful in the wine industry, you got to plant a lot of grapes. You got to smash a lot of grapes. You got to bottle a lot of that juice. You got to wait, and then you got to do it again the following season, over and over again. If you just had one vine and you made one bottle of wine, yeah, maybe you got some really, really good wine, but you can't make a living on that. So you've got to be prolific. You've got to be consistent. That means you've got to be able to create music quickly. If it takes you a month to create a song, 12 songs a year is not going to get you much unless you're incredibly lucky. Finding a needle in a haystack, winning a lottery, etc. You've got to be able to create music. Maybe it would be ideal if you can create a song in a week, in 5 days. I generally crank out between 200 and 250 songs or tracks a year, not including the alt mixes, etc. 200 to 250 a year. That's 5 a week. Just this weekend that I recorded this video, I created 15 subtle tension cues for a client. I gave them 5 a while back. They said, yeah, this is great. Can you give me 5 more for an album? I said, sure. Can I give you 2 albums? They said, sure. So boom, just submitted that stuff today. It was a bit of a grind, and the genre was somewhat easy, but you've got to be able to do that. And that's difficult when you've got life, you've got a job, you got spouse or significant other, you got kids, you got elders to take care of, you got illness, you got all sorts of stuff. But you got to be able to somehow find a way to deliver music. Maybe that way is collaborating with someone where you can split the work up. But the bottom line is the more music that you have out there, the better your chances are. But importantly, you cannot sacrifice quality for quantity. If you crank out a bunch of stuff that stinks, you've wasted a lot of time and you're not going to get any placements. But ultimately, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, keep making music. Don't stop. Once you start this thing, if you're doing it for money, you want to make sure you're consistently working. Yeah, take breaks. Take a vacation. You're going to have lulls. I had a bad month. I didn't do squat for a month. And then the music came back and I started writing some more music again. So just keep plowing through. Keep making music. Talking about investing in yourself, investing in your studio, you've got to stay current. One of the biggest complaints I hear from folks that have been doing this for a while is, I'm told my music sounds dated. Now that could be stylistically. Maybe you're stuck in the 70s. Maybe you're stuck in the 90s. Maybe you're just stuck in a genre of some kind. Maybe your sounds aren't good. Maybe you got a not good sounding piano. Maybe your mixes don't sound crisp and bright because you don't know how to use EQ properly, or use compression, or use the fantastic tools out there like Ozone from Isotope. There's fantastic tools to make your music sound great. But you also have to have current, sounds. I mean, granted, if you're doing rock, or country, you got your dobro, you got your guitar, you got your bass, your piano, your voice. Those are just timeless. But if you're doing pop music of any kind, you're doing hip hop, trap, EDM, neoclassical, there are some sounds you've got to just stay current with. Neoclassical, for example, there's 2 kinds. There's the kind of the rock neoclassical, and there's the classical music neoclassical. String libraries are getting better and better. You've got to have, I don't want to say all the latest libraries, but you've got to make sure that your libraries sound current, they sound modern, they sound good, because the bar keeps on getting raised higher and higher, especially in the orchestral space. The libraries are getting so good. Of course, some genres are timeless. Some genres will always be great. Motown, soul, R&B. The 80s is coming back. I mean, thanks to The Weeknd and Bruno Mars the past few years, and then Stranger Things, they've helped bring the 80s back. So some things go out of style and then they come back. Haven't heard a whole lot of dubstep lately. It was big about 8 years ago. But who knows what's going to be next? Hip hop isn't going away. We're 50 years into hip hop now. Your trap continues to change and evolve, but you got to listen to the music on the radio today. Keep in mind, the hits that you're hearing on Spotify or on Sirius XM, those were probably produced a year ago or 18 months ago. So what are they making today? You're going to hear next year. So try to stay current. It means keeping your studio current, keeping your sounds current. And watch TV. Leverage Spotify. Check out what's on the current news shows. Make sure you're not watching a 4-year-old episode. Make sure you're watching the latest season of Below Deck or Desperate Housewives of New York, whatever that show is called. Make sure you're watching current seasons to hear what the music sounds like. And then check out Spotify playlists. I use Spotify a ton. I'll do a search for, 2024 Asian hip hop playlist. Boom. And you got some stuff there. Middle Eastern trap. I did a project like that a few months ago. There's a playlist for it out there, okay? So just leverage the tools that are out there, YouTube, Spotify, etc. And please know that AI is not the devil. AI is getting a lot of bad rap out there. Suno and Udio in lawsuits. I've got a whole bunch of videos on that topic. But AI is not the devil. For example, this presentation did not exist 4 hours ago. I got the email, read it. I'm like, man, that'd be a great video. Less than 4 hours later, I've got this entire presentation. Every single image in this presentation was created by Midjourney. ChatGPT 4 helped me, finesse some of the bullets and get what I wanted to say. I'm good at PowerPoint, so that made it a little easier. I've done that for many years. But, I used AI to help my work. I've used AI for a lot. I've used AI to help with song titles. I've used AI to help generate lyric ideas to get out of a creative rut. I've used AI to help suggest a beat. These tools are useful. Don't go trying to recreate existing songs with it. That's just stupid, not what the tools are intended for. But the tools can be used to help speed up your productivity. They're not bad. They're good. They're great. They're going to get better. Now some things to avoid. Okay? Chasing trends without authenticity. Don't go hunting for clicks. Don't do what I did my first 2 years at Taxi. It's responding to every genre, every kind, because I thought I could. Don't neglect the business side. I mentioned that earlier as well. You've got to be professional. When you get an email or a phone call from someone, you respond the same day. I hear horror stories of folks like, music supervisors saying, hey, I reached out to this person and I want to use your stuff. I've called and they didn't call back, and I've emailed, they didn't respond, or the email bounced, or the website doesn't work. That's just a fatal flaw right there. If you go through the trouble and the work to create music that someone wants, why on earth would you not respond when they reach out to you? You've got to do that. So don't neglect the business side. And then when you do, be professional. Don't overcommit. If they say, like this library just said a few days ago, hey, Paul, thanks for these 5. Can you do 5 more? I said yes. I said, here's the time I can do it. And I delivered on that. So don't say yes and then, oh, well, my dog ate my homework, or I got sick, or the sky is falling. Understand what your limitations are and commit to what you can do. Don't ignore feedback from peers, from supervisors, library owners, friends, etc. Seek feedback from folks who understand. That's why I'm a big fan of groups like 52Qs and the Taxi forums, where you can submit your music and get feedback. The Sinkhole, the Discord server there. Get feedback and then understand how to accept it. These are songs, they're not kids. If it doesn't work out, you can make another one. And another thing to avoid is don't expect this to be easy. No matter how good a musician you are, no matter how much experience you have. I had decades of experience in the music industry before I started writing for Sync. I had no clue about Sync when I got involved, and I wasted 2 years trying to figure it out. Then I got smart and I focused, and things got a lot better. This chart you see on the screen, you've been looking at it, that's my actual royalty chart from when I started. So if you look down the bottom left of 2016, I actually started in 2015. So it took me a year before I got my first placement, and then things were stagnant for a while, and the years of 2016 and 2017, they're kind of flat, and then things dropped a bit because this music industry lags. When you create a piece of music and it gets placed in a library, even if it gets placed right away, it's going to be 6, 9, 12 months until you get paid for that. And that's just one track. So you got to be able to crank out music, be prolific, like I said earlier, but it takes time. And so that 2016, 2017, early 2018 was me wasting 2.5 years by not focusing. And then in 2017, my focus began, and like I said, there's a year lag. So 2017, I got better at what I was doing, and I started seeing the revenue increase in late 2018. And it started spiking up, and then we had a little pandemic, and that hurt me. A lot of folks got hurt. Some folks did well, but I had a massive dip, and then things continue to spike up again. If you do any stock trading or analysis, you see in general, but despite that dip in 2020, I've got an up and to the right trend. 2021 was an unusual year for me, so that reflected poorly in my 2022 royalties. But now things are moving upward. My last quarter, my check a couple weeks ago was my best ever. So I've gone from the hundreds and the many thousands. I'm hoping to approach 5 figures in a quarter soon, which would be great, especially since this is not a full-time job for me. I'm an IT guy by day. If I can be pulling 10 grand or more a quarter, that's success in my book. So this is not an easy thing. We're talking years for stuff to kick in. You're not going to get quick hits. Now, you can go on the internet and find out some folks, I got an industry, and hey, I got a $500 check right away. Well, good for you. It doesn't happen all the time. It's uncommon. Of course, you're going to miss every ball that you don't swing at. You got to take those swings, and you're going to miss every shot you don't take. I think that was Jordan that said that, or Gretzky that said that. But you got to take the shots, but just set your expectations. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So what could impact that timeline? Well, the quality of your music. Again, it's got to be good. You got to focus on it. It's got to be musically accurate, stylistically accurate for the genre. It's got to be acoustically good, placeable, radio ready, radio quality, and it's got to be current. Is it trendy today, or does it sound dated? What's going to impact your timeline? Your networking efforts. How well have you established your reputation? Your networking. Have you made friends with? Have you established business relationships with any supervisors or library owners or collaborators? So your networking efforts will impact how quickly you start making money. Your understanding of the industry. Let's say you crank out the music on your own. You're a fantastic composer and great tools. You got great music, and then you send this music, and the library says, "Yes, this is fantastic. I love this. Here's our terms." You're like, "Oh, what do you mean? I get 50% of this and 25% of that, and that's too much. I don't." And you start haggling. It's like those guys are generally not trying to screw you. The terms are what they are. If you're not sure about the terms of a contract, before you react, get with someone else in the industry and say, "Hey, this is the deal I got? Is this standard?" Most of the time, yeah, it's standard. So if you are difficult to work with, if you are annoying, you consume their time, you're slow, you don't understand how the business works, you're not quickly responding to their emails, you're not giving them the alt mixes they want, or you're not paying attention and you don't have proper fades at the end of your mixes, you have noise in your mixes, you renamed it, your bass drum mix ended up being an underscore mix, and you got to understand the industry, understand what they want. They ain't got time for amateurs. The volume of your work, the quantity of your work. That goes back to the vineyard concept. You got a couple of vines, you're only going to make a little bit of wine. But you have a bunch of vines, and you plant them every year, you got a better chance of success. You've got to be persistent. You got to be patient. Looking at money, what is the earnings timeline going to be? How much do you make, and how long does it take? Well, you're not going to make squat the first year for the most part. Again, there's always exceptions. If you know of one, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I'm happy for your success, but that's usually not the case. There are people that do fantastic for a variety of reasons. Skill, networking, charm, good looks, luck, all these things. It's like anything else. There's a lot of factors besides your actual skill that matter. But the first year, you are building your portfolio. You're networking, finding people, libraries, collaborators, peers. You're researching the TV shows. You're researching the DAW you should use, the latest effects, the latest software. You're finding libraries. You're finding out what they use. You're finding them on TV. You're submitting music to them. You're finding collaborators to help you get in. I'll say this again. I'm in a bunch of libraries. A majority of those I've gotten in via collaboration. Working with someone that's in a library makes it a lot easier to get in than trying to break down the door and get in yourself. So the first year, you're just building, you're planting those vineyards, you're planting those vines, growing those grapes. Your second year, so you're not going to make any money the first year, pretty much. Again, there's always exceptions. The second year, you'll make more than zero, probably. Your first placements will kick in. But like I said, it takes 9-12 months at least to get paid on a placement. But you're going to start earning royalties. You're going to start building more relationships. You're going to go to events. You're going to meet folks. You're going to go to the taxi rally. You're going to go to local meetups, etc. And you're going to meet people, and you're going to start having more opportunities to place your music. And then after 2 years, what are you going to make? It's entirely up to you for the most part as to your potential. You will not dictate how much you make, but you'll dictate how good the odds are of you making money in this business by being professional, by having a good reputation, and then finding out, okay, I can do this genre well. Maybe I add this genre. Maybe I'm a good Americana player, singer, guitar player. But hey, maybe I can lean towards some, swampy, bluegrassy type, duck hunter type stuff. Or maybe I can go for some metal, break out the stomp boxes and start doing some stuff like that. Start expanding your genre in related genres. Maybe you step aside and say, I could do this genre, that genre. So now you're diversifying your income stream. Maybe you're finding, you reach out and talk to some folks in the video game industry. You find someone that does video games. You get with this, you go to open mic and you meet someone that's writing songs, and you start helping them write songs for their artist or another artist. Because writing for artists is totally different than writing for television. But beyond 2 years is when you start making some money. Some folks haven't made squat in 5 or 10 years. Some folks have had really good success. Some folks are in the middle, So I would consider myself in the middle of that. I'm not making 6 figures a year, full disclosure. I wish I was. If I was, I wouldn't be working my day job. But I'm making 5 figures a year for sure. So, which ain't bad. So what can you do to accelerate your success? And see, obviously, this is a real photo I took in Cape Canaveral. No, Elon Musk is getting really, really creative with his rockets. No, that's AI, obviously. How to accelerate your success. Target specific needs. Find a show that does the music that you play. Find the libraries that did that. So target those specific needs. Pick your genre. Focus on that. Pick the tools you need. Find the libraries or the artists or the composers that do that, and with a laser, find them. And that means collaborating. I think collaborating is really the best way to get into libraries. You got to find collaborators that are open, though. Successful composers get asked to collaborate all the time, and you got to say no. I've had to turn down folks recently, and it breaks my heart, but I'm only one guy with X amount of hours per the day, and I'm behind on so many projects right now, I can't collaborate with anyone right now. Leverage your online platforms, your social media, your websites, your online learning communities. Learn from feedback. Accept the feedback. Recognize that it's not a personal attack on you. It's feedback about your music so you can get better. Stay organized. That means keep track of your communication. Figure out your project organization folder structure on your computer. Come up with naming conventions. Figure out your works in progress, your projects. Create folders for each of the libraries you eventually get with, or create folders for genres. Create folders for in progress, for finished, for rejected, for needs home, whatever. Organize yourself. Keep track of dates. Keep a spreadsheet. There's all sorts of details in the industry, so make sure you stay organized. So in conclusion, I have no idea how long I've been going, but and it's been a lot of content, but I said it earlier, it's this cliche phrase, but it certainly applies. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes you time. Sure, there's folks that run quick and they're successful, but they're the exception, not the rule. Some see success more quickly than others. Some not so much. Some never see success. Sometimes it's because they're not good. Sometimes because life's not fair. This is a subjective industry at the end of the day. You will hear music on television that stinks. You'll hear music on television that is not as good as yours. But that's just how this industry works. You will spend all sorts of time focusing on creating a 2-minute long track with excellent song structure, with a breakdown section, with a big build, with a stinger ending, wonderfully EQ'd, great balance, current sounds, and 2.5 minutes long, and then you'll get a 14-second placement of a stem of just an underscore or drum and bass only. And you'll be, man, all that work and all I got was 18 seconds of bass and drums? That's the industry. If that stuff frustrates you, this is not the industry for you. This industry requires time. It requires dedication to your craft, consistency, a solid work ethic, recognizing that you're human. We're all human. You're going to have ebbs and flows of creativity, of frustration, happiness, sadness, tears, anger, joy, frustration, everything. Just stay focused on improving yourself, keeping your studio current, finding revenue, finding other money that you can pour into your business. Everything you make, pour it back into your business. Get that guitar that you want. Get that software that you need. Get that EQ. Get whatever it is you need to make your stuff better. And always, always, always be patient. As it says in the blues, success in sync licensing often comes from a combination of talent, strategy, and perseverance. Keep pushing forward, and over time, you'll increase your chances of building a rewarding career in this field. Whew. I'm going to guess that was 45 minutes or so. I have no idea. My throat is sore from talking so much. You're probably tired from listening so much. Hopefully this was useful. Drop comments. If you want to get in touch with me, hit me through my website contact form. Link should be on my YouTube page. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope this is helpful. Now go make something great.